Welcome into another edition of the Cornhole Insider Podcast / Northern Wisconsin YouTube, Northern Wisconsin Cornhole YouTube channel. Joel Karnick here. We've got Al Baghdadi right there. How we doing, Al?
Over here.
Over, yeah, over there. Over, yeah, wherever
There
you.
you
All right, there it is. And we have special guest Marcus Golladay Jr. down there, and he'll join us in just a second. How you doing, Marcus?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Al, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to put a recap on Badger State games happened a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to talk a little bit about some upcoming tournaments this summer. So kind of Wisconsin / Midwest cornhole we're going to feature since we haven't done this in a while. But we wanted to bring Marcus on with us because his dad informed me a few months back when I met them over at a ACL regional that Marcus is kind of a stat guy, stat dude. He knows a lot about ACL stats and likes to keep track of them. So, Marcus, first of all, where are you from? Where do you call home over there, Marcus?
Sault Ste. Marie.
Sault Ste. Marie, and you guys have ACL regionals over there monthly, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. Now, tell me why your dad would tell me that we needed to talk to you about stats because you this is something you enjoy doing, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what it is that you enjoy or what you do, first of all, some of the things that you do to keep track of stats. At what level? Is it local or is it the pros, or what is it that you enjoy doing?
Whenever there's like opens and nationals, I like watch them and I keep track of all the like who's winning and like who the players are that like you haven't heard of before, but they're like up and coming players.
Okay. So a lot of us see the streams and see the main players, but you're keeping track of everything deep into the tournament.
Yeah.
All right. So what's something, so as we've had what, 4 opens so far in the ACL, is there anybody that sticks out in your mind that is an up and comer or surprising, or that's kind of maybe surprised you by looking at the stats?
At the beginning of the season, I didn't know who Caden Allen was, and then through all the opens, his singles play has really made me like notice who he is.
Yeah, he's had some pretty good finishes in there. And every year, is this the first year that you've kind of delved into this, or you've been doing this for a few years?
This is my second year.
Second year. So last year when you did it, is it true that we always see a few, every year we get those surprises that sneak up on everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. And last year, of course, Mark Richards, who kind of came out of nowhere last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you keep track of specific stats or with players like PPRs and stuff like that, or?
Not really. I
Okay.
look at them, but I don't really like keep track of them.
Okay. So do you think PPR is as significant as DPR, differential, point differential? Are you a believer in PPR, or do you think the point differential is more important?
I think the DPR is more important.
Because sometimes players play dirty games, right?
Yeah, at the last open, one of the guys, Ben Brown, won his bracket with an 8.5 PPR.
That's an interesting stat. Al, we have hope.
Yeah. I did see he was like 12th or something in his bracket in PPR or something and ended up winning the bracket, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah. And we're seeing more of those. Do you, Marcus, when you see some of these up and coming players, a lot of younger ones, obviously, and a lot of them playing the carpet roll bag, do you see, or what do you think the trend is in that area?
I think it's the carpet bag, and I think the carpet bag is eventually gonna like take over the game.
Okay. And why do you think that is? Just because it gives us more options, more different shots, or what?
Yeah, because the players who are sliding them in the roll bags and block, like most roll bag percentages are higher than people's airmail percentages, and a roll bag's more safe, and at least they stay on the board if you do miss.
Okay. It's true. But the dragging, I mean, roll bags, I guess, can drag bags a little bit, but I think it's safe to say, Mark, is that you still have to have that airbag in your arsenal too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps to have a little bit of everything. So who are other than Kate Allen, anybody else this year that you've seen so far that's been a surprise for the younger guys? Anybody that comes to mind?
Not really.
All right. And it can be deceiving, right? Because we can go 3-4 opens without some of the, the big guys, some of the top players either not going or whatever. And so we got to kind of be patient because it can play out through the season differently, right?
Yeah.
This open this past weekend, we saw, what was it? Was it Cody and Hissner? I don't know if they won it or did really well. And we hadn't seen Cody Henderson in a while, right?
Yeah.
All right. So when you're watching an ACL match or there's an open going on, what are you doing? Are you at your computer kind of obsessed with what's going on?
Well, I like watch the games, but I also have like the score zone on my computer, so I can like watch the stats of like all the other games and see what's going on in the other games as this game's playing.
Okay. So through all that in-depth evaluation and stuff, what do you know that I don't? Tell me something that you know about maybe a couple different players that Al doesn't know.
Well, I was looking through the PPRs the other day, and I could only find 3 players that over the whole season are over a 10, which were Matt Guy, Derek Holland, and Gary Bearpaw.
For the whole, and Gary Bearpaw, yeah. So only 3 guys over a 10 for the whole season. So their season PPR.
Yeah. That I found at least.
Yeah. And which
Is
is interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Al.
Gary Bearpaw playing ACL this year?
No.
Yeah, ACO, right? Yeah.
ACL.
So you follow ACO too?
No, not really. I went to one major with my dad, and I watched him play, and it was very impressive. So when I was looking at PPRs the other day, I looked him up, and he was over a 10 in the ACL for whatever he's played in the ACL.
Gary Bearpaw is your typical slide in the whole guy.
Yeah.
I learned that in Cedar Rapids last year when he took me to the cleaners on the second half of a double dip. But yeah, he's a good player. But Marcus, a lot of times that stat you said, only 3 guys over 10, which may or may not have changed recently, but we see the flashy stats on social media, but the reality is throughout the course of a season, these pros have a lot of ups and downs too, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can shoot 10 and a half, 11, but everybody has bad days, right? Or they get caught up in that carpet bag game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's this, Marcus? What do you think the stickiest, biggest brick of a carpet bag there is right now? If someone threw a carpet bag in front of the hole, what's the hardest one to move out of the way, do you think?
I would probably say the contraband combat.
Okay. They're like a brick right in front, huh?
Yeah.
Gonna move them around.
Yeah.
Well, Marcus, so do you share some of this information on social media through Facebook posts and stuff?
Not really, I don't really post them often.
Well, maybe I think you should, because you probably got some information that you run across that's pretty good. So someday I think you'll be that guy. You'll be that ACL guy. That'll be the stat guy they go to on the broadcast, because you're accumulating a lot of information. We know we've seen a lot of younger players come in, especially in the ACL. But those old guys do all right too, don't they? Maudlin and Matt Guy, not they're older, but that game is still pretty effective right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Maudlin this year, I think, on another level from what I've seen so far out of him.
At a high level.
Yeah.
Yeah. For right now, anyway, I mean, if you can 4-bag someone to death, that's gold. That's still gold. Yeah. So the old fashioned way of doing it. All right.
So Marcus, what are your predictions for once the very first national? What's your predictions on the winners?
So this is all the pros. So the national is all 256 pros, and there's 4 nationals. So who do you think is going to rise to the top early for those pros?
I think that Mark Richards will get singles again. And then for doubles, Trey Burchill and Alex Rolls.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first. Very good. All right. Well, Marcus, we thank you. We're going to have you on. It's the first time we've ever had you on, but we're going to have you on some future podcasts. So you continue to take notes, accumulate stats, and we'll wow people in the future with some ACL, even ACO stats. Okay.
Okay.
Marcus, we
Thank
thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to get him. We're going to put him out of the video there. There we go. And let him go. And Mr. Al Baghdadi, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of our tournaments before we put a recap on the Badger State games, because the Restore You Classic, the third annual, is that what we got?
Third annual
Restore You Classic, the second weekend of June, is going to be another
June
big
9th,
one.
June 9th, switch holio, June 10th, singles and doubles.
Okay. All right. And we're looking at a nice prize money again this year, right?
Yeah, last year we paid out over $4,700 to the winners, so we should be right in that ballpark again, if not more. So
As long as the teams are where they were last year, you're looking at what, 1,000 for doubles and 500 for singles, right?
Yep.
For first place.
Yep, for first place.
Now, this tournament is going to be the second weekend in June. That's kind of the date that seems to work well for everybody up here. And it just so happens that this year's tournament falls on an ACL national.
Yeah.
So it's just by coincidence, it's nothing else. So for those of you who are thinking about coming to a tournament, and maybe some of the top dogs aren't going to be there, here's your chance, right?
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. I love having the pros there, but I think it adds a lot to the tournament. But if they're not there, that's just somebody else is still going to win that money. It's still there for the taking.
Yeah, there's still some really good players who aren't pros. I mean, you're talking about the ACL pros of Dan Walker and Blake Karnick, Steve Schrader, Trevor Kufis, Jared Kufis, who were all there last year at the Restore You Classic, but they'll be at the National coming up this year on that weekend of June 10th. So Al, they can register on Scoreholio, right?
Yep. All the links are on the event Facebook page, Northern Wisconsin Cornhole. There's the event there for the Restore You. All the Scoreholio links are on there to register.
Okay, so be sure to check that out, the Scoreholio app, and get yourself registered for the Restore You Classic. And we're seeing we haven't done this in a while, Al, but just the number of tournaments continues, especially in the southern half of the state and over in Minnesota. Very rarely is there a weekend where there's not 2 or 3 options for people to go to, especially in the southern half and Minnesota.
Yeah, that's for sure. Seems like there's always something, multiple tournaments, especially on the Minnesota side. Any place that we go is going to be a long ways to travel, but if you want to play, there's always somewhere that you can play.
Right. So
and also, if you notice, I mean, you look through the Scoreholio app, and there's probably 4 or 5 places in the state of Wisconsin where you can play any night of the week, from Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday tournaments.
Yeah, the Mad City area and has just grown crazy. Even up here in the Hayward area, with their Tuesday Switcholios, they max that out at 32 players almost every time. And up in the Twin Ports, Superior area is growing up there, the groups, and it just continues to, those little pockets, those little cells just continue to build and build, and more people. And I'm a believer that a lot of the reason why, Al, is because of those Switcholios. People can come and they can play and see some really good players and maybe get matched up with a really good player and end up on the podium.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is the round robin aspect of the Switchholio, where people know that they're going to get to play at least 6 games for their $10 or whatever the fee is. Even if you go 2-2, you're still going to get to play 6 games.
Yep. Let's do a little recap of the Badger State games you see up on the screen here. We've got some of the standings from Scoreholio, and I think you should be able to see that, Al. I think, can't you?
No, I'm not. I don't see anything on my screen right now.
All right. Well, I think people can see this. we've got the doubles. Of course, when people sign up for this, they always like to use the screwy nicknames, so we never know who some of them are. But we had some great finals matches with Mr. King and Nick. They were lights out in that final, and Trevor and Jared Kufus were in there too in that finals, in the final 4 or 5. So that's doubles right there that ended up the gold doubles. And then the intermediate or silver doubles, Mr. Keith Bentz and his partner, Judith. See, you use sarcastic nicknames, Al, then
Yeah.
you don't get a real shout out. So,
Well, I believe that was Justin Krieger.
all right, Justin, we'll give you, we'll let you have that. And then we got Katie and Buster in second, the General and Jeff H in third, and then in the bronze division, I think I got all these right, Zachary and Jordan and Matthew and Parker. That was in doubles at Badger State with, I think, over 200. I believe there were, as far as doubles teams go, I think it pushed 200 or so. I'm not sure what the final was because there was 3 different divisions on that. In singles, there were 2 different divisions. Of course, Blake took first in his bracket. He had some knockout, drag out battles with Trevor Kufis, a couple of them that were not streamed live, but there was a match on one of the side courts that Blake and Trevor played. Trevor got up big early and Blake came back, and then they played, Blake had to double dip Trevor, so they ended up playing 3 games that I think between the 3 of them probably took about 2 hours to play, both playing at a very high level. Blake ended up winning that bracket, and he went up against, of course, the Cookie Monster, Andy Graff, Tortoise. He just continues to amaze me, Al, that he is so lackadaisical and so much fun to be around at these tournaments, but yet when it comes time to play, he's lights out.
Yeah, he won the seniors on Friday night also, didn't he?
Yep, he threw really well at Badger State games a couple weeks ago, and then Blake did beat Andy Graff for the champion of the upper division of singles, and Ryan Miller, Rhino out of Rhinelander, took the intermediate division, and that was one of the brackets there, and with Connor second and Marty W took the other bracket, and then Ryan won the championship of that. And then Maggie Geiger, she won the women's side, not a surprise to anybody. And the lady with the hardest name to pronounce, and I told her this, Josh, I'd still probably be saying it wrong. It's a Polish name. I talked to her a little bit afterwards, but she really threw well through the day. But you know what you get when you get to that championship. And, you know, Maggie hasn't played as much this year, Al, but when she does, you can't tell. She's still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she showed that on the women's side and won that. And there's the Tortoise, Mr. Andy Graff. He won the seniors division. Don't look down in 9th place there. Some guy kind of stumbled a little bit and didn't do well in seniors. But Dana Zorn, I want to see Dana's birth certificate. I don't think he qualifies for seniors. He doesn't seem like he's old enough for that, does he?
He's only like 40, isn't he?
He moves too well. Yeah, even if he is 55 plus, he moves too well. And when Doberstein threw well, he beat me, and Bush is Wayne Rao. He threw well. Dan Golonsky also threw really well and did well in seniors. And in the junior, Lil Shank got his title. Logan Miller, the defending champ from last year, wasn't able to repeat. And so that's from Badger State games. Oh, that was a blind draw, I believe. This one, Austin and CT won the blind draw. So that they got a good problem, Al, with the Badger State games in that it's growing. They sold it out this year. They could have had, I think, many more teams in that Badger State games. But it's such a good venue that they have. I think Michael James is hoping that with the way the whole tournament ran faster because of Scorholio, that next year there will be able to allow more teams, because Scorholio does make a tournament run faster typically.
Yeah. You know, it'd be nice to. I know I didn't get signed up right away, and when I went to sign up, it was filled up. You know, and so I was on the waiting list, and you know, there was a spot that come open, but it was last minute, so I didn't go and play. But I'm sure there's a lot of other people that wanted to play that didn't get the chance to play.
Well, there will be a lot of people signing up early next year. It might be a Badgerland bag brawl type rush to sign up next year, because once a tournament does that to people and sells out the next year, it really blows up. But thank you to Mr. Tagger, Michael James, everybody knows him as, and to Brad Ludwig, the two main guys who run that tournament, kind of easing into the world of Scoreholio technology. And I think you're going to see more of that click in for that event for next year's Badger State Games. We have the ACL for those of you who just either want good competition or you want to see some of the best players in the world. There's a chance the weekend of March 24th, conference, ACL conference at Ho Chung Casino in Baraboo. I'll tell you, I was at the first conference, and you had Mark Richards and Philip Lopez, you had Jordan Power, you had Jay Rubin, you had Ryan Windsor, you had Nico Morales, and I'm going to forget a lot of people. I believe Joe Kniestead was there. Of course, you had Blake and Steve and Trevor and Jared. There's always a lot of pros at these conferences, but man, if you want to see these guys that you've seen on TV a lot, ACL, you can see them right there in Wisconsin Dells at that ACL conference, the weekend of March 24th. And what's amazing, Al, is I was sitting courtside at that conference the last time we were there in Homer Glen, Illinois, and Phil Lopez and Mark Richard got up, guess what, 20-0 on Jordan Power and Jay Rubin, the same thing that happened on the national broadcast. And this time Jay Rubin and Jordan Power got it all the way back to, I believe, 20-19 before Richards and Lopez finally beat them. But everybody was just looking at each other just like, are you kidding me? Is this going to happen for a second time? And of course, Jordan was talking, to the surprise of nobody. But it was a great match. And those guys will all be there, I'm sure, at conference coming up in March. And we've got a couple of big ACL opens in Milwaukee and Minnesota this summer. Those will include pro shootouts. Those will include live broadcast on ESPN. So it's a chance for people to come not only and play, Al, but to come watch if they want to. So
yeah, you're gonna see the best players in the world that will be at the opens. The pro shootouts, 10-round games, a lot of fun to watch. And a lot of other good stuff going on. We're only about a week away from Michael Taggart's Children's Miracle Network tournament, where he raises just a ton of cash for charity for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals, so I think that's March 11th in La Crosse, and I don't believe there's any limit on the number of teams. I think there was over 100 last year. You were there, I believe. So
yep, it's a great cause, tons of raffles there. And so if you're in the La Crosse area, and check that out on the Cooley Cornhole page. This is Mason, by the way, came to visit me. Check it out on the Cornhole on the Cooley region or Michael James Facebook page. I think, didn't he donate, was it like over 60,000 last year, the Children's Miracle?
I think it was 33,000 last
33.
year.
Okay, all right. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money anyway. All right, I'm gonna let Mason down here. So yeah, taking that event coming up March 11th, and then the Ryder Cup, which is sold out, also does some fundraising too.
Yeah, that only sold out in 5 minutes.
Yeah, only 5 minutes. Yeah. So we'll be there rabble rousing a little bit with that. But it's kind of, I was going to mention too, along with those ACL Opens, how it's kind of switched a little bit now. We had, for a couple of years, we had ACO events. We had Cedar Rapids. We still have Beloit. But now the ACO, some of those events have kind of switched away. And now the ACL coming to Minnesota and Wisconsin this year. So a little bit of a flip and addition for ACL fans to get out if they want to take part in some of the opens that are going on. And again, yeah.
And I think that's a direct reflection of the directors in those areas finding venues for those tournaments and helping get set up. That the Mad City Cornhole, I'm sure, had a big influence on the conference tournament being at the Ho Chunk in Wisconsin Dells, and the director over in Minnesota there, I'm sure he had a big part in the open coming there. So
Yep, Ramsey, Minnesota, which is on the north side of the metro, and Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Oak Creek, which is basically Milwaukee. And again, if you guys aren't familiar, there will be pro shootouts with both of those this spring, summer. And that means on Friday, the pro shootout, and then Friday night live broadcast on one of the ESPN channels, whatever it may be. So that's going to be pretty cool to have that so close to us. All right. It feels like this is the first time we've ever done this. It's just so weird doing these the live Zoom. We haven't done this in a while, Al, but we'll try to get a few more out to folks. And we want to thank Wreck-It Boards for supporting Northern Wisconsin Cornhole. You saw that appear on one of Blake's videos. We got to get those boards back here, Al. We got to go maybe confiscate those from UW River Falls from Mr. Blake and get them back here. They're giving them pretty good success right now, but they'll be back this summer. So Al, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. And thanks to Marcus Golladay Jr. for joining us. We're going to have him back again, and he's going to kind of settle in a little bit. I think first time he's been on the Zoom, but and he's just a stat nerd, I guess you could call him. And I mean that in a good way. And he just loves to keep track of all that ACL stuff. So thank you for joining us for another edition of the Northern Wisconsin Cornhole YouTube channel, Cornhole Insider Podcast. We'll talk to you guys again soon. See ya.
See ya.